Are you ready for the change? I know I am. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to Movie Emporium's movie review of Anniversary. This is a film directed by Jan Komasa. Have you ever wanted to watch a movie about authoritarianism and about a family that collapses after an anniversary dinner that parents are celebrating the 25th anniversary? And do you want to know a story about like a revolutionary kind of change to America? I've given you this film. This film is about that family, the fall apart of that family, and the nature of a thing called the change, which is a movement that starts to gain notoriety because of one of these siblings' wives / girlfriends that kind of pops up. This is a movie that has quite the cast. It has Diane, Chandler, Madeline Brewer, Zoey Deutch, Phoebe Dynevor, Dylan O'Brien, McKenna, Daryl McCormack, and Sky Yang. Yeah, that's pretty eclectic cast for a movie that most people have probably never heard of. But if you ever wanted to watch the movie, once again, that's about authoritarianism. So it's about the nature of what happens when a movement gets out of control and you become an enemy of the state. Watch that movie because it is quite a good representation of what might be going on in this world. So for no uncertain terms, I didn't go into too many details about this movie. It is quite an experience, to be fairly honest. Not in the simple fact that it has quite the cast, but because of what it's trying to represent. Once again, I didn't know much about this movie. I didn't know what it was going to do. I didn't know it was going to be this type of movie. But the cast looked really good. The trailer looked really good. And it is representing a really kind of chaotic thing that director Jan Komasa is presenting to the audience, which is neither's point of view, which is both point of views. But it's a movie that, you know, you go in going, okay, I'll go along for the ride and see what happens when you watch it. And so therefore, my honest review of this movie is it is quite an experience. It is a very disturbing experience. It is a very dark experience. It is a movie that is very prescient with what it's trying to say about America and the world we are living in. And it's about a one-party system that gains movement and starts to corrupt and dismantle a loving family that has a parent that runs a successful restaurant, a parent that, of course, works at Georgetown, a comedian that is queer. It is a movie where, you know, it has a couple who are having issues but seem to be loving each other. Then it has Dylan O'Brien's Josh Taylor and Phoebe Denver's Liz Nettles who come into the mix. And Josh Taylor is one of the sons, and he brings this woman who may or may not have a past history with the mother, who's played by Diane. And it basically starts to tear apart this family of what she's representing because she ends up writing a book. And for my honest opinion of how I feel about this movie, it's a very conflicting opinion because I understand that the director, from what I read, wasn't representing like the nation as a whole. It wasn't representing either side, but you could tell that the director for this movie really had something to say. So therefore, depending on how you feel about the world, is going to be how you feel about this movie. This movie is not going to be for everyone. It goes to some really dark places. There's a character played by McKenna, who plays Birdie, who's a very interesting figure, who is the crux of what this movie ends up doing. If you ever want to watch misery porn, or you ever wanted to watch just a family fully collapse under the weight of just the chaotic nature of the sadness of everything that is happening, the world starting to represent a movement, just everything that you feel in your soul and the darkness and the holding that we have, might be a movie for you. I don't entirely know, but this movie just, it struck me. It struck a nerve. It was very uncomfortable to watch, and maybe that's rightly so, but I don't know if I necessarily love this movie, but I found it very intriguing. I think it could go in more detail what the choice is and what it entails, and I think Dylan O'Brien could play a sleazebag. He could play a very uncomfortable character if he likes, and he does it really well in this movie. And I think the most interesting person outside Diane is actually Phoebe Dynevor, who plays the kind of the outcast, the one that nobody really likes because of what she chooses to believe in. But you start to wonder if maybe she's right in what she believes in. Maybe the people, this family, the Taylor family, are not right, that they are willing to not get ahead, willing not to believe in the movement. And then you lead into maybe the family's right. Maybe it's just somebody came in, was a harpy or somebody that could destroy families and wins. I mean, who entirely knows, but it really is settling on what happens when a movement gains power and what happens when that power gets ensnared into society and how that affects, because you start to see the world transition as this movie moves along, because it takes place over 5 years. And you watch each individual family member, whether it be the couple played by Daryl McCormack and, of course, Zoey Deutch, or you have, what happens to the parents. There's a lot of interesting stuff in this movie. It's one of those things where you're going to have a hard time watching it because of the simple nature of how dark it gets. It has a very lighthearted tone as it begins, but as the movie moves along, it becomes to a point where if you can't deal with uncomfortable stuff or uncomfortable ideas, I wouldn't recommend this movie for you. But if you want something that has a message about the state of the world, the state of what happens when a particular party becomes effective and it starts moving along, definitely let's check this out, because this is once again, it's a movie with great performances. It's a movie with a very deep message about life and about, the idea of political movements and the idea of what families turn from that world that they found very cozy and very warm, because it's a very rich family that has done very well for themselves. But it also is interesting because, for instance, Madeline Brewer, who plays Anna Taylor, is the comedian, and she has some really kind of interesting points that she brings up when she brings along her girlfriend. And then once again, when you see Dylan O'Brien's character, Josh, you see how he starts to portray himself, and it becomes really, really interesting stuff. And once again, I think Phoebe Dynevor is the highlight of this movie, but I also think Diane Lane has to deal with like some of her history, how, things come back to portray on her, and watching her kind of fall from grace is a really interesting thing. So I enjoyed this movie for what it's worth. It's not like a top 10 or anything like that, but I think it's a really interesting message. And I think if you are willing to go for 2 hours, I think it'll definitely hit you in places you didn't expect. So definitely be aware this is a very deep and very dark and very disturbing movie. But it has great performances from everybody. Kyle Chandler is also really great, but he's always great. So there you go. That's my take on Anniversary. Yeah, so there you go. So with that said, that is going to be my take on this movie, Anniversary. I do appreciate you watching my review. In the comments below, are you planning on seeing this movie now that you know kind of about what it's about? What is your take? Are you looking forward to it? If you've seen it, let me know why, what you think of it. But otherwise, if you like what you see on this channel, hit the subscribe button to join Movie Emporium. Hit that notification bell at the top to find what's coming next. If you like this video, awesome. Hit that like button. And as always, we'll see you guys on the next video. Peace out, guys.